Hello and welcome back to FiddleUP. I am Emerald Ray, and today we are going to talk about how to book a gig. So if you have gone through the process of creating your act, or maybe you're in the process of creating your act, whether you found your band that you want to play with, or maybe you've decided to go solo like me, you have your one-person band. And you're ready to think about where are we gonna play? Like what are we gonna do? And it's not uncommon to get kind of stuck in like, well, I want to play gigs, but where do I start? And so I'm gonna go through why that's so confusing because it shouldn't be, but it is. Like, you think, yeah, I want to play music. But the wide world of playing music is actually a little bit complicated. So I'm going to go through all of that. So there is all different types of gigs, if you may have noticed, but you might not be immediately recognizing why. All those different types of gigs are actually very separate from each other and serve very different purposes. And so that informs a lot of actually how you put your band together and structure the music and why you play the music that you play and write the music that you write. Like, it's actually each of these different types of gigs kind of has a function and informs either informs the music that you're going to make, or the other way around. If you've made a type of music that's good for one type of gig but not for another type of gig, but you're trying to get the first kind of gig, then you're going to run into some roadblocks. So let's talk about the different types of gigs that there are. There's actually a bunch of different categories, and I feel like I've probably somehow left some out, but these are kind of the main things you're going to run into, at least as a fiddle player. So the first one is concerts. And obviously, there's a huge, wide gamut of different types of concerts that you could play, from a house concert in somebody's quiet, intimate space with 20 people in it, all the way up to stadiums. So that is a very, very wide range of size of audience. But the whole structure is kind of the same. So for a concert, you're going to have people who have paid to come see you and are sitting in the audience, paid to come see specifically you. Let's put it that way. And they're going to be in the audience. These are going to be your following and your people, or your new people, or people who have come specifically to experience you. And they are generally gonna either sit or stand and be focused entirely on you. And you are gonna put on some kind of an actual formatted show. So when people think of playing music, that's immediately what they think about, is playing concerts. And when you're putting on a concert, depending on how formatted you want it to be, there are, different levels of structure that go into that. So if you're playing a house concert, and within that there are certain different categories. There are people that only play house concerts pretty much, and that's all they want to do because they like that quiet, intimate space where we're all just, it's very like mellow energy. It's very comfortable. They want to do a lot of talking about their life, like basically having a conversation with the audience and having a real personal experience. And so the structure of that show might be a little bit more loosey-goosey because it's kind of conversational. Now, if you're in a theater or a larger space, or in a stadium, it's gonna be like theater time. It's gonna be a lot more like we're telling the same jokes every single show. Everything's very everything's timed down to the minute. And there's no conversation happening between the audience besides trying to get the audience to react to things that you're doing. So that is very complicated. And there's people who spend their whole lives studying like how to make that work and how to get people either paying attention, if you're in a concert, symphony, orchestra, concert hall, it's all about, being quiet and paying homage to the beautiful art that is happening. But if you're in a club or a stadium or something like that, it's all about getting people going and everybody having a big party. And there's lots of, concert spaces where maybe the music isn't entirely 100% the main focus. Maybe you're trying to get the people dancing. Maybe you're trying to, get them to socialize with each other, and the music is just facilitating that happening. So as you can see, just that one category, there's like a whole rainbow of different options there. And there are going to be acts that only play house concerts. There are going to be acts that only do performing arts centers. There's going to be acts that only play stadiums. And, they really have structured what they're doing to that effect, which is why it's like, kind of exciting for a lot of people when you see somebody like Taylor Swift do a tiny desk concert, because she never does stuff like that normally. It's like putting somebody who does stadiums into a house concert kind of setting. That's why that's a really good example of why those shows are so unique, because normally that person doesn't do that type of thing, and they actually have to work up an entirely different show of their music, that's in a different style to do those things. So concerts is a big one. Festivals along the same lines. There's a huge, again, a rainbow of different types of different types of festivals that you can play. But a festival is different because the people that are coming to the festival are not necessarily coming just to see you. They might have come because they wanted to see some other act, and they walked by your stage and discovered you. And so audiences, are often discovering new acts at festivals, and people who go to festivals are often looking for new things. Acts that cater specifically to festivals tend to be really like rowdy and high energy, and trying to get the people going, basically. You're really kind of shouting out there. It's kind of like an advanced version of street performing, playing festivals. So like your stuff has to be tight. You're not necessarily engaging with the audiences in an intimate way. You do need to be able to react to what's going on, because there can be a lot going on. There can suddenly be a food truck that's starting a ruckus over there, and you might have to crack a joke about that. There's kind of like, a certain element of street performance that goes into festival acts. So that's something that's really good to think about. I feel like there's a lot of people who, don't understand that actually the concert circuit and the festival circuit are two different things. Though there are plenty of acts that do both of those things, if you do both of those things, you have to be a good act for both of those things. So that's something that is really good to think about when you're thinking about playing, just getting into the wide world of playing gigs. So another type of gig that you can play is events. And this is a huge market that's kind of a little bit underground, because people that specifically do events are not necessarily publicizing themselves to the public. They're publicizing themselves to organizations that are going to hire them to come in and provide a specific type of entertainment for their specific event. So in this case, you're putting on an act that is actually, it's not about you. It's not about, the audience has come here specifically to see you. They've come for a completely different purpose, be that a work event or a wedding or a party or any sort of like, retirement, graduation, you're there to serve a specific purpose for a specific reason, and you're kind of like a side dish to this event. So doing corporate events is really different from concerts and festivals, because it isn't about you. You're serving a very functional purpose. So if you're, for instance, playing a wedding and you're an Irish band that's come in, they're going to expect you to do things that are a little bit more pigeonholed into what people perceive is an Irish band. So if you do anything that's kind of like more creative and esoteric, it's not going to work in that setting. And, there's a lot of people who are highly creative artists who also do events, because events can be a lot of money. Doing corporate things or weddings, you can charge a lot of money because you're kind of doing a commission. It's kind of a commission gig. Like, people are paying you to come in and be their idea of what a very, specific thing is. Cover bands, stuff like that, are very popular at corporate events because the people kind of just want what they want. They want to just hire you. You're a hired gun to come in and do whatever they want you to do. So that's why the money is actually higher, because a lot of the times that's not what you want to be doing, and you want to be paid adequately for playing music that it's not necessarily your thing. So that's why that happens. So a lot of artists that do events will get paid a lot of money, but also experience the highest amount of creative burnout because they feel like, oh my gosh, I'm just doing the same old thing again. And yeah, they're paying me thousands of dollars, but ay. So that is the trade-off with doing corporate events. There's nothing wrong with doing corporate events. They serve a very important purpose, and they are, a great money gig to get into. But at the end of the day, you are very much a hired gun. So that's just something to think about as we're going along. And then there's another whole category of gigs here, which is very similar to events actually, but it's a little bit different. So I would put all of this in the category of what you'd call bar gigs. And bar gigs are gigs that happen in a bar. These, again, are a little bit like events where you're kind of a hired gun coming in to do a very specific thing, but it's at a bar where people will be walking in. Now, sometimes people will pay a cover to go to a bar to hear a band, but that's kind of breaking down. Like, usually if you're paying a cover, that's to hear, it's more like a concert. It's more like, you're paying to hear this specific person that you have specifically come there to see. If you're being paid by the bar, either a flat amount of money or you're being given a percentage of the till, for instance, they kind of want you to do a certain thing. They want you to get people to drink alcohol. That's what you're there for. And so you have to be an act that helps that happen. And if you're kind of a more mellow, contemplative artist, or, you want to be taken seriously in any sort of way, it's probably not the gig for you. It's going to be, that's just like, it's a different animal. And I would half and half sort of put sessions in this category. One thing that's really difficult about running sessions, especially in the cities, is that, having a session where you're getting together to play the music that you want to play, you're getting together to have this sort of shared musical experience with some of your peers, conflicts with what the bar wants you to do. This happens so often, I can't even tell you. So the bar thinks they're like getting a whole band for the price of 2 people. And they want you to just come in and sort of have the music going constantly for 3 or 4 hours or whatever, they want you to do. But then, and they don't want you to take too much space and, all this stuff, they just want it to be more like a bar band. But what people in a session generally want to do, whether they're playing Irish music, Scottish music, old time, is they want to get together and chat and sit there and have a couple of beers, and like the chit chat between the tunes is really part of the session. So it's really kind of more of a hang. And so that can be a bit of a struggle with working with the bar. They will do things like put the music on in the middle of like if you've been taking too long, like they kind of just, unless it's an Irish pub or something like that that really gets it, like they really know, or they're just very, very supportive of the music and what the whole ethos of the session is. You're going to be competing with what the bar wants you to do. So sessions are a type of bar gig, and it's good to think about them that way. That way you'll be prepared from the flack you may get from the management, and having to juggle people that are coming in and playing for free and want to sit there and chat, and the fact that you're being paid and you have to do what the bar wants you to do. It's a little bit of a juggling act. So that's a whole area that if you have, people that you play with where you want some things to be a little bit more low key, a bit less focused on you, but you just want to get together and play some music for a few hours, then a bar gig, especially starting out, if in your musical life, bar gigs are a great, kind of easy to book, easy to get some kind of residency going where you're playing once a week or once a month. And you can get some practice playing your music in front of people that are only really like 30% paying attention. They're talking to whoever they're at the bar with, they're drinking and eating and doing all kinds of things. They're not 100% focused on you. And that's actually a great way to work out new material. So it's definitely not a bad thing to do. And from there, if you feel like, playing in a bar is not working for you, and you want to, you'll be kind of get a sense at a certain point if it's time to move on and it's time to do something else and move into a different circuit. Then you're going to get that feeling, and you're going to have to work up whatever parts of your act are, need to be worked up to move into the other circuits. So if you think of yourself functionally, if you think about like, I'm a musician and I want to play this certain type of gig, I have to serve this role, then that is a really good way to think about this stuff moving forward. So now that we've talked about all the different types of gigs, and you maybe have more of a sense of where you're going to land with that, then you're going to contact the person. If you have an idea of a venue or a festival or a bar that you want to get in touch with, then it's a good time to find their website and find the contact information. You're generally going to get an email. And so what you have to do is email the person, and you will frequently not hear back and have to email them again and probably call them. Booking, without using too many semi-swear words in this on this website, booking sucks. I'm just gonna say that. Nobody likes it. It's really hard. So don't get discouraged. It's kind of the most unpleasant part of playing professional music, and everybody knows that. Everyone agrees. It's not fun. It's often the reason why booking agents tend to come off as being such bitter, angry people, because they have the worst job in the entire industry, really. It's really not fun. So if you just understand that up front, there's kind of no sugarcoating that one. If you just understand that up front, then you'll have more drive to move forward when things get tough. So one way that you can avoid getting ignored indefinitely is you can write a really good booking email. And this could be a whole video unto itself, but I'll try to just boil it down into the important things that you need. So if you have an act that you want to get booked somewhere, you need to have a booking email that's sort of a well-formatted email that you can copy and paste into an email and then put this person's email and then send it off. So the first and most important thing that you need, that I'm giggling because it's so bizarre that in this day and age people still don't understand that you need this. You have to have some kind of a web presence. Like, I know that seems very obvious, but it's really true. Nobody is going to hire you if you don't have a picture, a video, like even like having an audio, like a link to audio, is not as good as having a video for booking gigs. You really, at the very bare bones minimum, need a press photo, like a high quality photo of your act or yourself, and you need a video of you playing. Bare bones minimum. You also need some kind of a description, and this could be as little as 2 sentences and as much as a whole page. But and you should really have both of those things. You kind of want a mini blurb, and then an actual blurb that's maybe about 50 to 100 words, and then a full bio will be up to 500-ish, between 500 to 1,000 words, but don't do 1,000 words. That's too much. You want to have basically 2 solid paragraphs, 2 solid full paragraphs for your main bio. So yeah, you have to have all of that stuff, and a lot of it, the exciting stuff, the boiled down, most exciting stuff, has to go into this email. So you have to have an email with the link to hopefully your website. Hopefully you've got a website. If you don't have a website, you could use a link to a social media page, but that's not going to be as strong. So you really want gets even just a little 1-pager, just like a little, just all of the stuff I said, the picture, the video, and the description, just on the internet somewhere with your personal URL. That's really important to have. It makes you look more professional. And the more time and money you spend on those 3 little things, the more it's gonna be saleable to people. So you want to show people what you are, and not just make them imagine that you are you are what you say you are. So yes, website, description of some kind, and then you're going to have a little chit chat in there as well. And depending on your personal relational style, this could be a little bit more professional or a little bit more cheery and friendly. It just depends on what you want to do. Cheery and friendly is really good. It really kind of breaks the ice. So saying, hey, Steve, I was at your venue last week and I saw this act, and my God, it was so amazing. And, I would love to play at your venue as well. I feel like it would be, a really great fit. And, there's people that say, don't say that. Don't say it's a great fit. Let them decide. But something along the lines of, I feel like this could work, would be great. Maybe don't use the specific words good fit. Like I would love to do this. I'm very similar to other acts that you've had play there before. Or you could even say, oh, it was great to see my friend play at your venue. We have a similar vibe, that kind of thing. So you just want to chat a little bit and let them know that you're friendly and cool and somebody who's approachable, and then link to something that they can go look at and watch, so they can see you doing hopefully a live performance, if not just something that you've done in your house. And have a description of what you do, something to describe in words what they're looking at. So that's how you do that. And so, that is how you book a gig on your own. And like I said, they may ignore your email, just little gentle follow-ups, once a week or so after that, and maybe throw in a phone call. I'm a phone call kind of person, but, that's kind of going by the wayside. People are getting scared of phone calls these days. So depending on the situation, that might not be so great. But these are all things you're going to have to figure out the hard way. And unfortunately, every promoter that you're going to email is also getting hundreds of emails from other people. Bear that in mind. Like, they're probably not getting back to you because they're so inundated, and whatever, you're offering them is just not fitting into whatever they're doing in the moment. So if you catch them at the right time, that might be a better thing to do. And so I should mention at the end of all this, how to book a gig, people always say, how do you get a booking agent? Booking is so annoying and da 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 da. Wouldn't it be just easier if I had a booking agent? And the answer is no. Getting a booking agent is not going to make booking easier. In fact, in some cases, it might make it harder. And so what you want to make sure that you don't sign on with a booking agent if that's not going to be taking you to the next level in some cases. There are certain types of gigs, especially if you get up into the higher echelons, like big festivals and obviously stadiums and stuff like that. Like you cannot get those gigs without having representation. They just won't even pay attention to you. So there's a certain line where you may work up to where you realize I can't get the gigs that I'm trying to get because there's sort of this little unspoken, we're not going to pay attention to this person, to anyone who doesn't have a booking agent getting into contact for you. I remember trying to call up a venue years and years ago when I was just starting up to do just an opening act. And the promoter was like, "Who are you?" And he didn't mean like, "Who are you?" Like he didn't, like he was letting me know that I, as an artist, should not be addressing him personally. So there's lots of promoters that don't want to work with the artist directly at all. That's their line in the sand. That's just their... So though that's true, it's not impossible to break through and get through, especially if you're working with a band and one person in the band can sort of pretend to be the booking agent. But you really want to think about a booking agency when you have reached that point where you can't get any higher. So you have really done all of the legwork. You really have a resume behind you. You have proven that you're a product that can be sold, and you're proving that you are selling. You are a saleable thing and people are buying it without the booking agent having to do anything. So if you've proved that you've gotten into some festivals, you've done some concerts, you've done some things like that, then that is when a booking agent is going to come in and go, okay, I can take on that workload for you. You can, focus a bit more of your brain energy on your artistry, and I will take over that actual emailing. But what you're going to have to do is do the management as well. You're going to have to decide which venues you want them to contact and basically go through the process, but have them be the intermediary. So it's good to think of your booking agent as being sort of, you're a little bit of a secretary in terms of like they're doing the work and they're going to take a 15% cut of what you're doing. So you don't physically have to write all those emails, but you still have to do the planning and all that kind of thing. So all that planning stuff is for when you have a manager, and that's a whole nother video. Until you have a manager, you have to manage yourself. So that is all I have to say for today about how to book a gig. I hope that's helpful. And if you're getting into wanting to book gigs, and if you just kind of think like, I want to play some gigs at some point, and you just start manifesting that, then you will notice that opportunities for playing gigs may start coming your way. So, and asking people who already play the gigs that you want to play is obviously that is a great thing to do, to kind of talk to people who are already doing those things and ask them what they're doing to get those gigs on the books. So good luck with your gig booking life, and let me know how it goes, and I will see you in the next video.